making things visible and transparent, or fixing problems that you don't know exist, or you're making assumptions on what those problems are. As open and transparent as you could possibly be, focusing on the North Star, the outcome that you're wanting to achieve, whether that's providing a great service to your clients or providing a great experience to your staff or great technical prowess. Without having that transparency and that openness, you're trying to fix things that you don't know are there.
Welcome to Saul Searching, the Saul Recruitment Podcast, where we tackle all sorts of great topics in the areas of recruitment, job searching, mindset, technology, marketing, culture, and lots more. It's amazing what you'll pick up. Thanks for joining me. Welcome, everyone. Friday afternoon, as always. Darren Saul here from Saul Searching, the Saul Recruitment Podcast. I hope everybody's doing really well. You've had a great week and you've got lots of great stuff happening for next week. But today it is episode 76 of the podcast, and I have got the one and only Nathan Hutchison in the house, all the way from New Zealand. How you doing, mate?
How you going? Yeah, good, thanks. How you going, Darren?
Yeah, very, very well. Thanks for joining me. Nathan's an absolute gun when it comes to IT and operations and managed services. So we're going to have a great chat. And in particular, the topic for this episode is lessons from the front lines, skills for the IT industry today and tomorrow, because it's always changing and we have to be ready for the future. But just in case people don't know who Nathan is, he brings 19 years of hands-on experience from the service desk to guiding MSPs across APAC as a trusted executive coach. Now the Chief Operating Officer of all IT services, he's known for his pragmatic leadership, systems thinking, and ability to cut through the complexity to solve the problems that matter. So welcome, Nathan.
Thanks, Darren. Good to be here. Looking forward to chatting.
Thanks for having us. So now you've been a busy guy. You've been 19 years in the MSP industry, in the IT industry, so you've seen it all. Has it always been in New Zealand, or you've been doing that other places as well?
I've always been based in New Zealand, so I have, since I've been working, based in New Zealand, working in New Zealand, living across Wellington and Christchurch, but working with a range of companies across, APAC, as mentioned before. So, through Australia and New Zealand primarily, but expanding into Singapore and Philippines and other areas like that as well.
Wow, amazing. And you started off on the service desk and made your way up to management and executive level, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So first service desk job I had was working night shifts and very, very sporadic hours for New Zealand Police help desk. So I'm from Porirua and I ride my bike to work, starting at midnight, work until 6 a.m.
Wow.
Sometimes go in again at 6 p.m. that same day. Not a lot to do, a lot of nights, so often watching movies or filing faxes. But that was where I got my start, and then worked my way through the career from there.
Nice. What was it like working night shift in IT?
Because I was a casual worker, it was all over the place. My sleep pattern was particularly bad because I would come in at, sometimes come in on 6 hours sleep and then come back in and go home. And sometimes I'd be starting at night, sometimes starting in the morning. It was a big driver for why I wanted to work my way into some of the other roles that I did not long after. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, nice. And sounds like you did that pretty quickly. And so when is it that you felt that leadership and management was the place you were gonna land? When was it clear to you that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I'd say probably about 6-7 years into my career, maybe a little bit earlier, I started having a few more things delegated to me, and I noticed that I was not taking control, but definitely leading from the front or getting involved when things went particularly bad. I had a habit of seeking out major incidents and things that were particularly going wrong, and I'd like to jump in and really liked being in front of clients and having those conversations. Not initially from the start. My goals initially was to become a desktop technician, and I thought that was the coolest job going at the time. So still think it's a cool job getting out and going to see clients and help people fix their things. But definitely as I progressed, and it's the same for most people, as you progress, you start thinking what's next. And I'm someone who continually thinks of what's next and what I can do better. And that's how I ended up where I am now. Yeah.
Love it. And you're still pretty technical, aren't you? Like you've still kept reasonably on the tools.
I haven't been specifically on the tools, I'd say, for about 8 years or
Okay.
close to 8 years. I am relatively technical if they were using extremely outdated infrastructure and technology now. It's
Okay.
kind of a running joke that I have often with those types of things is if anyone does have issues with, Exchange 2013, I'm probably your go-to
Yeah.
guy. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think, though, one of the things that has helped is having some of the fundamental skills from coming from the on-prem
Yeah.
infrastructure end is you understand the principles, you understand how those things work and how they're interconnect and when it's going to be likely to be network or storage or servers and cloud technology is just servers that someone else looks after essentially. I think that gave me a very good foundation and I think it gives a lot of people that have been around a very good foundation and it is probably one of the key skills that is often missing now because everything's SaaS and cloud and you click a button and you don't really understand what the button that you're clicking
What's going on?
does. You just know that it does things. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
So
it's like
I
me.
wouldn't
Like,
say I'm particularly technical now.
no. When I first started in IT recruitment,
Mm.
we're talking 25 years ago, I started specializing in Lotus Notes.
Ah, yeah, Domino server
So
migrations
Domino,
and yeah,
Notes and
yeah,
Domino
yeah,
was
yeah,
my
yeah,
little
yeah,
niche.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
but when I first started in recruitment, I was locked
Mm,
in a room for 5 days with one of the senior managers and founders,
mm,
and I was trained really well from the ground up. What's
mm,
a CPU? What's a server?
mm.
What's a desktop? What's a storage? Whatever. And I think it
Mm.
really makes a difference when you understand the
Yeah,
ingredients or the nuts and bolts of the
mm,
architecture.
yeah, and that structure's still around, so understanding
Absolutely.
it is still important. Yeah.
Yeah. And as we go into the cloud, we're just building and building and building
Mm,
virtually on top of the same type of structure. So it's good to have that understanding. But
mm,
I want to kind of dig in a little deeper and get a sense from you as what do you feel that you really learnt in that initial part of your career that has really stood you in good stead till now?
mm. Lots of things really come through. Like lots of growth happened from just getting uncomfortable and putting myself in uncomfortable situations and getting put forth the things I didn't know how to do and having to figure out how to do them. That's not necessarily like a skill that you inherit.
Yeah.
It's something that you acquire over time and time. Some of the things like changed though for me or that I developed was like I remember making my first phone calls, calling people off the service desk and feeling nervous about it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
like as an example of feeling uncomfortable and feeling uncomfortable with things, um, you start making 100 or 200 or 300 of those phone
Yep.
calls and they become second nature.
Nothing. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I think part of that has always been just having an openness to what's next and what can I do to push myself and find
Yeah.
that's actually had me in the best stead through anything that I've done. Because that's allowed me to figure out problems that I don't know the solution for.
Yeah.
And that problem solving skill, as I've developed it more and more of basically any situation dealing with like a problem. Here's where I am. Here's what I want to be. How do I address the gap? What's different between this and that?
Gotcha.
It's carried me through from managing people issues to process issues to technology issues to relationship issues.
Yeah. So it's kind of being curious and being open
Yeah.
to learning and understanding what you don't know and how you best bridge that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. And being aware that you don't know is
Yeah.
a very good skill to have as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being aware and also being at ease with it. Like
Yeah.
you don't just know things immediately. It's not it's not a slight on your personality
No,
if or your capability if you don't currently know something.
that's right.
Having the humility and the open mindedness to address and come to terms with that and figure out that first step of admitting through to mastering.
Yeah. And I agree. Like these days, everything is so complicated. Every little sub area has so much within it. You cannot know everything. So everybody's
No.
got their own area of expertise. Yeah, they're subject matter experts in certain things, but like I know certain things and I wouldn't have a clue about other things. And you can't expect yourself to know everything. So I agree. You have to
Mm.
kind of be aware of what you know. And also, I love that saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah.
So it's always great to learn and seek coaching and seek listening to podcasts, listen to audiobooks,
Mm.
go to webinars, talk to people, and just be curious. And you just
Yeah.
never know what you find out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ask more questions than you answer, and you'll find out a
Yeah.
lot of things along the
Yeah.
way.
Absolutely. And so, how did your um, problem solving change in a way when it went from tech to people? Because I know it's kind of similar, but there's also a
Mm.
different element when you're dealing with people.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can't restart a person
No,
and it fixes
you
90%
can't
of your
just
people problems.
reboot.
Yeah, yeah,
Would that be good?
yeah. Yeah. I suppose one of the big things is understanding people is so, like I said, every opportunity is a problem. One of the problems often is that we don't understand the situation or the context.
Yeah,
Why is someone upset? Why is someone feeling like they're not getting what they need out of their role or working to the potential, or why do they find that this client or this ticket is difficult? That it's still very much a similar approach. It's such a simple approach as well. That we made it our core values when we reviewed them at the start of the year was understanding, communicating, and taking ownership. So we got understand, communicate, own it. Um, very, very simple to recite as you're coming into any sort of situation. But the difference really is that, computers, complex, multiple different things that can happen. There's a level of predictability that comes with it, though, that
yeah,
isn't there with people. So, really
yes,
trying to understand people about what motivates them, whether that's that they want to progress technically, they want to build new skills, they want to have reward, recognition, status, money, management roles, and then being curious about understanding those things and what's the driver behind those. So, again, problem solving approaches like five whys. Someone wants to be a manager. Well, why do you want to be a manager?
yeah.
Because I like looking after people. Well, why do you like looking after people?
Ah, I like
It's
that.
getting to the bottom of some of those things. And I, in a lot of instances, as I said, they're a lot less predictable, but that's in itself a lot more interesting and exciting in a lot of ways because there's even more things to know. And if you're energized and excited by learning and knowing new things, that in itself helps keep you engaged and help you approach each situation differently.
Yeah. And I suppose you can't get anything more complicated than people.
No, no, no.
So it's a forever learning journey to understand people. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. And like because I've talked to a lot of managers and leaders of MSPs and a range of other businesses as well. And, you know, the people that you have and what's motivating them and what's
Yeah.
driving them or what's their baggage and where does their baggage come from? Because, people can be particularly bad with taking feedback, and you might be
Yeah.
the most approachable, kind, polite person, and these people are terrified of you giving them feedback. That could carry through from so many different things. It's the
Yep.
the thing that's so interesting about people is multifaceted, right? So it could be
Yeah.
from their family or their upbringing, how they went through school, how
Yeah.
they had their first job, a manager that they previously worked with, and again, starting to understand those things and having that curiosity and that understanding to talk to them about it and gently figure someone out and figure out how to get the best out of them and how to work together the best is a very interesting and very fulfilling problem to solve when you start seeing things moving in the right direction as well.
Absolutely. And that makes all the difference. When you really have a good understanding and a good relationship with a person, you can
Mm.
get through a lot and you can, what's the word? You can forego a lot. You don't have to be perfect all the time because
Yeah, yeah.
there's a strong base and you both trust each other. So it's
Mm.
such a big difference to when you don't know somebody. Yeah. How do you guys, and you in particular, how have you brought that into a system or to a process when you first started with All IT of how to really understand everybody in your team and how to build a culture around that?
In my role, I and with my tenure at the company, in all honesty, I feel like there's a lot of people that I don't know very well in the company because there's a couple of reporting lines between me and them. Um, I think with the leadership team and the people that report into me, we're building a lot of this familiarity.
Yeah.
We use things like the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, as a framework that we align our business to, which includes structured one-on-ones with feedback and coaching and discussing issues that they're raising from themselves across individuals and at a team level.
Yeah.
And we've started off with like quarterly pulse checks as well, just to see how engaged people are and how people are finding, multiple facets of the business.
Nice.
We discuss people quite a lot at a leadership thing. Like, are we doing right by our people? Are we looking after our people? Who are the people that are showing promise? If you've been following us, you might have seen there's a lot of people that have been progressing into more senior roles. Where I've brought in frameworks, and the process of bringing in frameworks currently is first off defining what every role in the business does with an expectation of what good looks like, and having that in writing so that someone can go and look at it and go, yep, that's what my job is. That's what my day-to-day looks like. That doesn't mean that you're locked into binary doing that. There's ways that we can stretch and grow people. But along with that comes the clarity about, well, what's the next role I can move into? What types of behaviors and things do I need to demonstrate there?
Yeah. What kind of training do they need to undertake?
Yeah, that's something I'm working on right now, is our training and skills development pro, process. So how are we going to evaluate you on the quarterly and the annual check-ins? What are the things that matter? Whether that's your utilization or achievement of goals or client satisfaction, or did you meet your training and learning objectives? All of these things will have specific weighting. So we're trying to be more and more explicit and clear on what's expected of you and what good looks like. And as a result of that, again, it opens up that opportunity for problem solving, because now we know what the bar is and we know where the gap is. If you're above the gap, where's the next step for you?
Yeah, love it, love it. And what are your thoughts on two-way feedback or 360-degree feedback?
So we do two-way feedback. As part of that feedback with us, with the reviews, it's them providing feedback on their manager.
Okay, great.
As well. Did we open up the space? Did we give the opportunity to growth? Was there clear expectations? Did we step out of the way? And we have those types of conversations as well. So with my direct reports, sometimes when we have one-on-ones, the feedback is more geared towards me than it is towards them as well.
Yeah.
It really aligns up with what they are going to get the most benefit out of. And a lot of the time, sometimes that could be giving the most feedback to me, as an example, in that session, because there may be something that I need to do better, or I'm doing that's getting in the way, or underwriting their authority or their feeling of confidence, as an example. In the past, that was something that popped in a couple of times, because I have a personality that jumps in and says, okay, what are we actually trying to solve here? And they were trying to run the meeting. I'm trying to get better at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do a lot of things like that.
Yeah. Because not everybody loves two-way feedback.
I
Managers
love
love to
feedback.
give feedback, but they don't always like to take it.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than having feedback and it's just, everything's good week in, week out. Because there's, I'm definitely not infallible. I make mistakes. I'd like to hear them so that I can improve them, because again, it's another problem for me to solve. And you probably picked up, I quite like solving all sorts of different problems. So again, it's exciting. It's something to learn from. Yeah. One of the best examples I can think of with me, as an example, for anyone that's like newer into a leadership role, one of the first mistakes that I made was there was some friction, and a couple of people in the team were having issues with each other, and one of them came and talked to me and told me their perspective, and me being wanting to get things sorted quickly and being quite driven.
Mr. Fix It.
Yeah. I booked a meeting like immediately, and then had a conversation based on what that one person had spoken to me about. And I actually got very good feedback from that person who was on the receiving end of that it would have been appreciated had I come and talked to them to hear their side of the story before mediating a conversation. Thankfully, I had a relationship where someone could provide me with that feedback, but that's something that I took on early. So now I listen to both sides when I have a conversation. So again, more of a point for new leaders. First off, don't do that. Second, listen for the signs when people are giving you feedback, if they are giving it.
Yeah. And also, I suppose, listen to the signs when people are wanting you to give them feedback as well, because sometimes people miss that.
Yeah. And rolling out feedback can be uncomfortable, particularly if you haven't done it in the company. What we started with was just stop, start, continue. What's something that you'd like me to stop doing? What's something you'd like to start seeing me doing? What's something that I'm doing well that I should continue doing? And we ran that for probably about a month, and then we've started making it a little bit more exploratory and open-ended and conversational.
Love it. Love it. And do you find that the pace of the modern IT environment and the rapid rate in which it's changing makes all this a little more difficult because you have less and less time? Or is it about structure and process and really putting it on a pedestal in a way and prioritizing it?
It always needs to be prioritized. Yeah, definitely can lose track of the importance of people, but without the people, there isn't a business to serve and there isn't people to work with. And ultimately, the end goal of business still is to provide some sort of outcome to people. So people being in the part of it, wherever that is and however that goes in the future, still important.
Yeah. And like if I put my
So,
recruitment hat on, to me,
mm,
it astounds me that people are so willing to not spend the time to look after their people, but then they're willing to go and just
mm.
rehire. I mean, isn't it easier to just make sure your people are happy?
Yeah, agreed. Um, I think with people and happiness and roles, the thing with it is sometimes companies, particularly in our space and our size, don't have the opportunities that everyone wants to move on to next. With a lot of careers, like I've done it and lots of other people have done it, you move around every 2-3 years because you outgrow what the opportunities are.
Yeah,
Some people stay in a company for 10 years and they get to the point where it's time to, get
makes sense.
spice things up a little
Next
bit,
step. Yeah,
try something different, see what you're going to do. So that can be one of the more difficult things when you are introducing structure and process into a business as well, and saying, these are the roles and these are the next roles. Is there enough openings for the next role for other people? But obviously, again, you need to understand what motivates people, and not everyone wants to become a senior systems engineer or a manager.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think there can be a little bit of stigma around people moving on to other roles. And, I've definitely worked with some people where I've seen them take it really hard when their staff have left. And it's generally never personal. Occasionally, in these long term relationships, they don't last as long.
yeah.
But as long as someone's gotten something out of it, like I always just like to try to aim that, the people that we have contribute something that makes the company better and we contribute something that makes them better, and have keep the philosophy relatively simple, and
Yeah,
then it's relatively fulfilling as well.
I love that. And generally, any manager, I would assume, would want to basically just come up with relationship where they're grooming and growing that person, and they're
Mm,
there for however long they're there. And when they move on to something better or their next step, it's almost a sense of pride because they help them make that next
yeah,
step. That's
yeah.
instead of trying to keep them and smother them and put
Mm,
them in a box and never let them out and never let them see the light of
mm,
day. Doesn't make
mm.
any sense. That's just part of the natural progression, and I think it comes back to you if you think about things that way.
Yeah, and there's lots of people with us that have been around for years. Lots of people that I've worked with for years, or developed long, enduring friendships with, or
Yeah.
still lend an ear and bounce ideas off, or provide advice or get advice from as well. So even within the realms of within a business, a lot of time those relationships don't just end there as well. So it's something worth remembering.
Definitely, yeah, good point. You just never know when you're gonna see those people again and what kind of
Mm,
opportunities you can work together on in the future. Yeah.
yeah.
Now I wanna dig into something that's always an interesting topic, and it's the topic of technical versus leadership. It's
Mm.
always an interesting one. There are some
Yeah.
people that are fantastic techs. There are
Mm,
some people that are natural leaders. There are some
mm,
people that can do both, and there are some people that can't. So
mm,
what do you say, and how do you think about and analyze who would be suitable for a technical role only and who would be flagged for a leadership role?
mm. From an interviewing stage, it's kind of hard to determine that
Yeah.
of how
Oh,
they're going to go through their tenure. But
yeah. I mean,
the
while you're
first
working,
thing,
yeah,
yeah, again, a lot of it's down to being curious and exploring some of those things with people. Interviewing someone and they say they want to work in a company with great culture. What's a great culture mean to you, rather than
yeah,
just accepting the first answer that
yeah,
comes through?
yeah. It's such a generic
Um,
answer. Great culture.
yeah,
What does that mean?
yeah,
Great management. What does that
yeah,
mean? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Um, from a technical point of view, talking to a technical person, you can generally observe how they are in the field,
yeah,
and how they are when things get tough, because that's usually when people are looking for leadership.
yeah.
And I don't think that you need to have a leadership title to be a leader as well. And I think
No,
that's something that also gets conflated and mixed up quite a lot.
definitely.
And even things like leadership and, as I said before, people and all those things, they can be so broad. But generally, you're looking for how they interact with people, Do they rise or do they shrink away when things get difficult?
Mm.
Are they able to have a constructive conversation with the peers or with their manager or with someone, even a client, in some instances as well?
Yeah. Do they
As we,
look for blame, or do they take it on
yep, that's a
themselves?
big one. Yeah,
They say, "Oh,
yep.
that's my fault. Sorry, we're
Mm.
going to fix that. This is what we're going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of my talking through interview questions, one of my favorite questions to ask is like, "What's the biggest mistake that you made in your IT career, and what did you take from it?"
Yeah.
And one of the biggest red flags I had that I ignored one time was they said they hadn't made any mistakes and they'd been in IT for about 20 years, and
Oh God.
they worked out to be a terrible hire. So
Interesting.
that's again a lesson that I learned from that. But I think having some level of awareness with some of these things is really starting to set an inclination that
Yep.
they might be suited for leadership roles. But even the people that are natural leaders or seem like they could be natural leaders or seem like they could be natural salespeople or seem like
Mm.
they could be natural senior engineers, sometimes they don't want to do those things.
I was just about to say that, exactly that. But
Mm,
you're right. So how
mm.
do you go about what kind of conversation, and how does that go when you talk to them about that aspect?
I think just continual open dialogue with some of these things is good. So asking, what are you liking in your job? What aren't you liking? What have you seen that you think looks good? I talk to lots of people and they think that getting into sales or getting into relationship management seems good, but I've managed relationships before and go into a meeting and you got three directors in front of you that have a contract on the table talking about how they want to tear up the contract, and you got to show your value. It's not all getting coffees and going out for
Yeah.
beers and having chats and
Yeah.
you know
And having nice
firm
long
handshakes and
lunches.
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's there's a little bit more to it. So
So
um
true.
I think it's being really clear on what their expectations are and then what our expectations are and then what the reality of both of those things lining up
Yeah.
looks like can help guide and lead a lot of that. Couple of other things that I like to do that open up some good conversations. Well, one thing that in particular I quite like to do to open up conversations is just get people to fill in a quadrant. So, box, and it's got four squares. It's broken up in four sections. And it's what you're good at and like doing, what you're good at and don't like doing, what you're not good at and like doing, and what you're not good at and don't like doing.
Yep.
And get them to start putting in those things and then start having conversations because, from that bottom right quartile where you've got the I like doing but I'm not good at as an example, or there's an opportunity there to look at how do we get you exposure to more of those things or help you grow into those areas. Um, so that has been quite useful, not for putting someone pigeonholed into, well, they definitely will do this role, but
Yeah.
ask them again. A lot of it's just asking and having conversations.
Yeah. It's so true.
Nothing,
It's
nothing.
just being honest and creating a space for
Mm,
them to really be honest and
yeah,
truthful without them just saying what you might want to hear.
exactly. Yeah, that's also the thing is
That's
people
the
going,
thing.
oh, well, I know that this role's coming up and it pays a little bit more, so that's what I want
Exactly
to
so.
do.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I love before when you talked about the 5 whys, and
Mm,
that could be really useful for any conversation like that. "Oh, yeah,
yeah.
so you're interested in leadership. Why?" "Oh, because I want
Mm,
to, um, I don't wanna be on the tools anymore. Why?" And it just
yeah,
goes
yeah,
on, and then
yeah.
you might find
Mm,
something at the end of the road that
mm.
it's a totally different opportunity that they're actually looking for.
Yeah, yeah, and they might be better suited being a business analyst.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
interesting. I
like,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
But I've always found that really interesting that there are natural leaders, but
mm,
they don't always wanna be leaders. Some people are
yeah,
very, very happy just
mm,
being technicians, doing the day to day, and they're
mm,
very happy that way.
yeah. Like, that's the thing, everyone's got their different passions, so you might
Yeah,
be really good at being a technical person.
yeah,
Um, you've got a passion for it. You're also very good at leading people. You're very charismatic and can do very good sales, but
yeah,
you want to be a tech. That's the
yeah.
thing that interests you
Just wanna
most.
solve people's
Uh,
problems and you wanna
yeah,
get that
yeah,
feedback. "Oh, thank you. You really
yeah,
saved
yeah.
me today."
Instant
You
gratification.
get
Yeah,
that gratification. That's
yeah,
better than anything, you know?
mm, mm,
It's so true. It's so interesting. So what advice would you give to people getting into the industry these days? Because wow, like, we've been in the industry for 20, 25 years now.
mm.
What is it like for the young people getting into IT? What do you think they have to think about in the future? What advice would you give them for navigating a career in IT?
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of disruption happening in the market with IT and opening roles. We thankfully have been able to bring in some younger people with the opportunity to help them grow through the career. We just had a trainee that's come through and now is a technician, as an example. Um, characteristics that I'm usually looking for is the ability to communicate and relate and connect to people. I think that's going to become more and more important because now with automation, AI, technology, how buttons, you're just clicking a button and providing some judgment, all of those things become much more commoditized versus
Definitely.
the person who can go to site, show a good attitude, give the client a good impression, gets the work solved, solves the problems nice and easy, and is good to talk to. Um, coachability, being coachable, and never losing that through your career, no matter how far through you get. Taking on and being able to accept feedback, putting yourself out there, like from a perspective of hiring. When we put out an advertisement and we get 200 applicants and 150 of them don't have cover letters and or have cover letters that say the wrong company name or the wrong job
I've
title
seen a
and other
few of
things like
those,
that.
yes.
Yeah. So like there's the aspect of putting in the diligence, and I know there's a lot of roles out there and there's a lot of opportunities, and it's a very competitive market, but putting yourself out there and doing things that are a little bit different. So when I'm talking about going through 200 applications, if someone sends in a video submission,
Absolutely,
they stick out. So that would be one of my key things. I put myself on a lot of videos now.
good.
Just from a company branding and my own personal branding perspective as well. Start working on that yourself as a younger person coming in. Jump on like LinkedIn, start looking at what people are talking about, start looking for patterns as well. I mean, lots. Obviously, always stay curious. We talked about curiosity, questioning,
I
focus
think
on
that's a really big one because
problems, value.
curiosity says a lot about a person. Like if
Yeah,
you're a curious person, it means you don't let your ego get in the way. You're
yeah.
self-aware, you're humble to a degree,
Mm, mm.
and it says a lot about a person, just the fact that they're curious.
Yeah. Ask questions when you're getting interviewed. Ask questions when you go and talk to a client. Ask questions when you're working with your peers.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? How do you do that? What's the reason behind it? Can you tell me more about your business? Can you tell me more about yourself? How was your week? All of these little things add little touches that will help you progress through your career.
And don't assume. Like, why do we
Yeah.
always like to assume everything? Just ask a question.
Mm,
People are only too happy to tell you and talk to you about it, especially if it's
yeah.
something personal. And everybody likes to talk about themselves. So just ask
Mm,
the question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Play around with tech in your own time.
Mm.
Think about the problems that you can solve. If you focus on solving problems and adding value and how to, uh, make someone's work or someone's life a little bit better, and you're being creative with that, or you're finding your own niche of how to deliver that,
Yeah.
that's again a new skill. It's a skill that translates,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
whether you're in IT or outside of IT.
Yeah. I love that. And something that you just made me think of, a lot of times I get approached by junior engineers or junior
Mm,
wannabe, junior to be engineers.
mm,
And they say, "Oh, Darren, I don't have any experience, but how can I start? What can I do to start
mm,
getting ready and start doing something to show that I'm that I've got that I can build an opportunity in this field?" And I said, "Look, obviously, doing certs is always great, but I don't want you to
mm.
go spend lots of money.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you're wasting a lot of money because whereas your company to be might
Mm.
help you with that as well. But
Yeah,
do
pay for
some
them, yeah.
free study, do something, even if it's a
Mm.
very low cost cert. It just shows a bit of commitment." And
Yeah.
the other thing I tell people is, even if you can get yourself a couple of hours a week free work
Mm.
experience,
Mm.
do
Yeah.
it. That's a big one.
Mm.
What are your thoughts? Anything else that you'd give people?
Yeah, yeah, definitely those things. Look into stuff like getting yourself a free Microsoft developer tenant, play around with that,
Yeah, cool.
learn how to use Power Automate, learn, if that's the way that you wanted to go down, get a Claude subscription, start vibe coding.
Uh,
Uh, finds, help out family members, elderly family members in particular, learning how to use technology. You'll learn a lot of skills about how to work with clients and customers
Learn how to explain
across.
things in a
Learn
non-technical
how to
way.
explain things. Yeah, exactly. I've had a lot of hires and I've been on the board for a not-for-profit, that we worked on repurposing a whole bunch of laptops and giving them to people and giving accessible technology. They're always looking for volunteers. Look for those things that'll give you some level of fulfillment and also look good on your CV and potentially give you ins into the industry as well. So look for technology focused, not for profits, I'd say, because a lot of the time people sitting on the board or involved in the back end operations also have contacts within the industry and can refer you on.
Very, very interesting. I like that. Great tip. Great tip for people. Yep. Big one.
Mm.
And the other thing that you mentioned that I'm really a big fan of is doesn't matter what level or of seniority you get to or level of experience you get to, there's always more to learn. If there's
Yeah.
always study to do, there's always training courses to do, there's always listening to podcasts and audiobooks and reading other material, watching YouTube videos, whatever it may be.
Mm.
Go to forums, I don't know, whatever. You never know everything because the industry
No.
changes, the world changes that quickly that
Mm.
we have to keep changing with it.
Yeah, yeah. And as you're getting further through your career as well, and you go into these industry events, another key takeaway is don't always just go to your own industry events because you become very insular. Hear what's happening out there in other markets, and
Big one.
particularly if you're looking after clients and clients from different businesses, understanding those businesses a little bit more than your own, in a
Yeah.
lot of instances, will help you go far too.
Yeah, love it. Is there anything that you would do differently from what you did to fast track your career if you look back?
No, because a lot of the things that I learned from the mistakes that I made,
Yeah.
opportunities for growth, what came through from them, have helped me with who I am today, obviously. But they've also meant that they're lessons and things that I can impart on other people as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing I would change.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same. I think
Mm.
everything you do, every avenue you take is a building block
Yeah.
into your character and into your experience
Mm.
if you are aware enough to use it and leverage it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the
I'm not
key.
a I'm not an everything happens for a reason, but it is more of a everything has happened and this is what it's equated to. So
Yeah. And this is what I can do.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So true. So true. Love that. Love it. And anything else you want to talk to us about in terms of how you manage, protect, structure your team to make sure you get the most out of them from an efficiency point of view?
Number one thing is making things visible and transparent.
I like that.
So anything else that you do, you're fixing problems that you don't know exist, or you're making assumptions on what those problems are. So as open and transparent as you could possibly be, uh, and getting used to again that discomfort that comes with that, and focusing on the North Star or the outcome that you're wanting to achieve, whether that's providing a great service to your clients or providing a great experience to your staff or great technical prowess, whatever it is that your specific team or your specific company is focused on,
Yeah.
align to those things, align to things like your core values if you have them, and work through it. Like, it's better to know that something's absolutely messed up and everyone's annoyed about it than it is to have everyone pretend that it isn't and it's bubbling in the background and you're in a pressure cooker situation or something's going to go particularly bad, because those small little issues become big problems if over time and they spiral. So be forthright, be constructive, and always then think about, is this aligning to the North Star or the goal or what the direction that we're going in with the company or what my team is or what I want to do? Is this in alignment with my values, with my company's values, with my team values?
Yeah.
Is this providing value itself? And if you can have that transparency and have those discussions, you can actually address and solve those issues. And sometimes solving those issues is something that you need to improve. Sometimes it's a process that needs to improve. Sometimes it's a clear expectation that needs to be set between you and the client, or you and a peer, or you and a direct report, or you and your manager.
Yeah.
But without having that transparency and that openness, you're trying to fix things that you don't know are there.
So true.
It's like trying to find your way around with your eyes closed in the dark.
That's right. So true. So true. And funny, I've listened to a lot of books and
Mm,
material lately, and they all say the same thing. They say, if you have a clear vision and that vision is
mm,
communicated to your people,
mm,
then everybody can work together to make sure that they achieve what needs to be achieved. If there isn't a clear vision that's communicated, then how do you expect anybody to know where you want to go?
mm.
It
Yeah.
makes absolutely no sense. And it's so true. A lot of companies don't really take enough time to just communicate very simply. What are we trying to achieve? What's our North Star, as you put it?
Yeah. I think even we lose our way, and we've been hyper focused on it. It's
Yeah.
very easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What is culture? How do you define culture? Because it's always a tricky one.
Yeah,
What are some of the
it's
things that make up culture for you?
mm, obviously there's the cop outs of the culture is the people and all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff, but it's all it's very hard to make it like a very specific thing. I find it's a
yeah.
very
I agree.
nebulous
It's very
term.
nebulous and it's very
Uh,
multifaceted, 100%.
mm, yeah, I think culture is first off, well, maybe not first off, but a big part of culture is experience. It's how your people experience it. It's how your clients experience it.
Yep, love that.
It's something that is hard to write down. I don't think core values often get it as well. It's
No,
just something that you feel and you do.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah, it's the how how do people work together and bond and work together if all of the instructions completely disappeared tomorrow,
Yeah.
everything fell off a cliff, everything was on fire.
Yeah.
Um,
You lost all your manuals, all your handbooks,
you lost all your
all
manuals,
your
all your
knowledge
handbooks.
base,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah. And like some of those things are part of the culture and they're like artifacts and outputs of the culture. But
Yeah.
what would it look like turning up to work tomorrow if all of those things happened? And I think that says
I
a lot
love that.
about culture.
That's cool. I really like that. Very, very cool. Yep, so true. Because sometimes you can ring up a place or experience a place,
Mm,
and there's just from one person to the next, there's a certain feeling, there's a certain warmth,
yeah.
there's a certain openness, curiosity, whatever it is,
Mm,
certain respect, and in other places, none. So
yeah.
it's just the way it is, and it's if it's done well, it's entrenched in the fiber of the place, and it filters
Mm,
through everybody.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's something that's built over time with different people that come in and have their different
yeah,
inputs and,
yeah,
you know, how we've trained people or how we've spoken to people and how we treat one another and all of those things build
yeah.
this experience.
Gotcha. And I suppose if the
And it
culture's
changes
strong
over
enough,
time. Mm,
absolutely, and if the culture's strong enough and you get one person that comes in that might not be
mm,
exactly that, they'll mold them really quickly. But if
yeah.
everybody's just an individual, the whole thing can fall
Mm,
apart.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Now
Yeah.
everybody likes to talk about Gen Z versus everybody else. How are
Yeah.
you finding that, and what are your thoughts on the work ethic and anything you want to talk about in that respect?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, every generation loves to shit on the generation that comes
That's
after them.
right.
It's been going on for
That's
years.
right. That was it.
My biggest probably gripe with Gen Z is that sometimes I don't understand what they're saying. I find their slang hard to understand, and
Yeah, yeah,
that would be my little bit of feedback for that generation with communicating because it's something that I had to adapt to, and every generation has to adapt to. Is that you need to be able to be understood and be able to relate to all sorts of different people from all sorts of
100%.
different life
Yep.
views and
Even us
upbringings and
dinosaurs.
cultures.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't quite say I'm a dinosaur yet, but I'm a millennial, so I had plenty of years of people complaining about me as well. So it's
Yeah, so true.
it's my time to shine. But I think yeah, that would be one of the number one things is
Yeah,
making
good
sure
point.
that as you're coming into the workforce, you can relate and understand and be understood by multiple people.
Yeah.
And that is going to be probably the number one skill that you can get. Learning to not take things personally, I think, isn't necessarily a Gen Z thing. I think it's a younger person thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do wonder if a lot of the time things said about younger generations tends to be because they're young. Because people used to complain about millennials because they were young, and you're going
Good
through
point.
the
Yeah.
20 to
It's not whether
you
it's
know
Gen
the
X, Gen Y, Gen Z, it's just they're young.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 20s to 30s where you've got a bit of bravado and you think you know
Yeah,
everything
that's
and
right.
no one can tell you any different.
Yep.
So yeah, I think in regards to that generation, the workforce and entry roles and all of those different things are starting to look quite different as well. So
Yep.
finding what drives you and what your passion is, the concepts of like ikigai, if you're
Yeah, I
familiar with
love
that,
Ikigai. I love Ikigai.
um, finding what gives you fulfillment and purpose and what you're good at and leaning into that quite early in your life and in your career, um, because there's going to be some doors that are shut and there's going to be new doors that are open. You're
So true.
probably coming into one of the most disrupted workforce, most disrupted markets that's been around for quite some time, um, it's going to be less about following the path that, your older siblings did or your parents did.
Very
And
true.
it's going to be more about finding it yourself. Like I'm even finding that now with myself, with my thinking, and I'm near 20 years on, is, what is next for me? Because I've always kind of known what the good thing to do is or the
Yeah.
right thing to do because of 20 years of experience.
That's right.
How
But
do I now
because
apply
of
that to completely change
because of the world
something?
we live in and the
Mm,
opportunities that have been born due to technology, there are
mm,
so many more options for all of us.
yeah. So I guess I don't really have any generalizations for Gen Z
Oh, that's
or
cool.
fighting generations off against each other, but I just suggest a couple of those things and some of the things that I said earlier on for early stage career development.
Good point. And I'll just make a point of just isolating that term ikigai because a lot of people might not
Mm,
know what it is, but it's a fantastic Japanese philosophy.
mm.
Ikigai, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
So if
that's right.
anybody wants to learn more about ikigai, there's some great books, and I've downloaded one. I can't remember the name of it, but
Mm,
great book about ikigai, and it's worth checking out.
mm,
The other one question about Gen Z is I've heard people say that when you talk to Gen Zers, they're very, very socially conscious. They're more about what are we all doing together for the planet, for the future. Are you finding that, or that's just hogwash?
mm. I haven't found it in any of the conversations I've had with
Yep.
any Gen Z stuff
Right.
so far.
There you go.
Um, I've got younger siblings that are in that generation. Again, I think there's a level of generalization that comes around every era, and
New generation. Yeah.
Gen X are uh, driven by this, and millennials are driven by this. If I kind of look at my character traits and things like that, I think I would align probably more with a Gen X than a millennial at the particular time when I was looking at those things, because I think I was just a little bit more mature,
Yeah.
a little bit earlier.
Interesting.
So no, I haven't particularly found that. I think as businesses and as people, regardless of what generation you
Mhm.
are, you have to find things that bring you fulfillment and ideally have some sort of positive impact on the people around you
Yeah.
or the environment. What are you adding versus what are you taking? And, business to be successful, you should be adding more value than you're taking out, because
Yeah.
that's the thing that'll make you more successful. So, not generationally focused, but I think at some point you have to think about that value and what it is that you're giving and getting.
Yeah. I love that. And you can extend that to every relationship that we have in our life.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And if everyone kind of did that,
Yeah.
things,
Wouldn't the world be such a beautiful place?
yeah,
Absolutely. You're very philosophical, Nathan. I like it. Very cool.
yeah.
I just want to take a tack and talk a bit more about all IT services. Learn a bit more about exactly what you guys do. Tell us a bit more about where you work geographically and maybe how people can
Mm.
find you and work with you.
So all IT services, we're based all up the east coast of Australia, primarily Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Central West. We have people in Orange as well. I'm based in Wellington in New Zealand, so we've got plans to expand out over here in the coming
Nice.
months, coming year. Uh, we provide IT technology services for businesses, focusing on keeping them productive, being proactive, looking after their infrastructure back end, stopping things from breaking before they need to.
Right.
We have an extremely strong focus on customer service. So we go to site, we walk around, we say hi, we check in on how things are going.
Nice.
We talk to people when things are working well, not just when they're broken. And we also have that heavy focus on cybersecurity. So maintaining very strong baselines. We aim to have above 85% secure score across all of our managed clients.
Wow.
That's the average that we maintain. 80 is considered excellent, and I think it's roughly around double what industry averages are. So
Wow.
we like to maintain that, and we balance that with the security versus the productivity and availability, and things are actually working.
Love it.
We focus heavily on hospitality,
Wow.
financial services, and not-for-profit
Okay.
organizations.
Great. Amazing. I've definitely heard so much. Everybody's talking about security now from an MSP
Mm.
point of view. That
Oh yeah,
so many MSPs are getting more and more serious about security, which is good. which is only
Mhm.
natural, I suppose, in the world we live in. Yeah.
Definitely.
And if people want to reach out to you and find out more about working with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so reach out to us. We've got our All IT Services website. If you're interested in working for us, you can reach out on our careers page. And if you're interested in us working with you and providing a good IT service, you can jump onto our About page or our homepage and
Right.
inquire, and someone will be in touch very quickly.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I put the website in the show notes, so everybody feel free to check those out. Amazing. Well, Nathan, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We've dived into some really good stuff, and we've
Yeah.
got quite granular with regards to generations, culture, um,
Yeah.
tech,
Yeah.
philosophy, tech versus leadership. So I've had a
Yeah.
great
We've covered off
conversation.
pretty much everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done a good job. It's been great. I think we might have to do a part two.
Thank you for having me and
I love it.
asking so many different questions.
All right, amazing. Well, mate, really appreciate it. And everyone out there, I'll see you very, very soon for our next episode of Saul Searching, the Saul Recruitment Podcast. Bye for now. Thanks again for joining me for another episode of Saul Searching, the Saul Recruitment Podcast. If you'd like to join me as a guest on the show, I would be delighted to collaborate. Feel free to buzz me on 0414 659 800 or email me on darren@saulrecruitment.com.au. I'm always on the lookout for great guests who can share their stories and expertise with my community. But for now, though, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.